Welcome back to Yates American B244. In this episode, we're going to get the segmented feed roll removed and evaluate it and clean it up. This is the segmented in-feed roll. These are all supposed to have springs inside of them, and some of them don't seem to be very springy. Let's see if we can loosen some of these up a little bit. To remove the in-feed and out-feed rolls, I need to remove these springs. Removing these springs on the other end will be more of a challenge because they're kind of in a blind spot. You probably should use a deep socket on this. There we go. So here are the springs on the other end. So this is the top of one of the motor side springs. A good example of all the crud I'm dealing with. The rust force is strong on this one. I lost some clips getting those threaded studs out, but now with all the threaded studs and the springs and everything removed, I can get the in-feed and out-feed rolls removed. I'm going to try to remove this segmented in-feed roll now. I need to basically move it to the left here, but this bearing housing and guide block is really gunked up. This bearing housing and guide block is coming right off. I don't know if you can see that, but there are needle bearings in there. Let's take a look at the other end of this in-feed roll. So there's a retaining plate on here for the bearing housing. I removed the out-feed roll much the same way I did the in-feed roll. So the motor side bearing housing is slightly different from the drivetrain bearing housing on both rollers. The needle bearings, they have a hardened sleeve pressed onto the shaft. To service these segmented in-feed rolls, I'm going to have to get access to them, and the way I get access to them is I'm going to have to remove this hardened sleeve, and the only thing I've got to pull on it is this, and there's really not any room to get a gear puller in there. In addition, and I don't know if there's enough light to see this, but this sleeve outside here has just a little bit of engagement on the hardened bearing sleeve. I don't know if that'll be enough to be able to pull that sleeve off. I'm hoping putting some shims between that lug and the feed roll segments will be enough to be able to pull off that lug. If I can get it far enough, I can get those claws underneath the lug itself. And there's a sleeve that goes under that boss, and then finally the end plate for the segmented rings. I've probably pointed out before some of the segments of this in-feed roll have springs that are weak or completely broken. So let's see what's inside. I'm expecting there to be some springs that pop out. There's one. 2, 3, 4, and then 5 down here. I'm not sure where this came from, but this is a little piece of broken spring. It's not from any of these. There's one that's broken. Okay, that segment had spring broken into 5 pieces. And this segment I'm not even needing to pry off, it's just coming off by hand. Here are all the parts of the infeed roll. So there's 15 2-inch wide segments, and there are 75 springs and spring caps. That's a lot of springs to replace. And these things just look like they kind of self-destructed. It's like they weren't properly tempered after they were heat treated. And there are at least a few caps that are damaged. So that should have a lid on it. I'm not sure how I'm going to replace those. Some of these springs that remain in these holes are like jammed in there. They're not loose. Like I have to go in and pry them out. And they're also jammed in some of the cups. I have no idea how they got like that. These spring cages are all a mess. To make this scrubber, I took some Scotch-Brite and wrapped it around a dowel and glued it in place with some gasket glue. Okay, well, I've got all the parts of this infeed roll cleaned up. I'm not sure what the path forward is on getting it repaired. For instance, these spring caps are not available. You can get them in different sizes, a little bigger, but this is an odd size, and my initial search shows they're just not available. These springs are probably a fairly standard size, and I can probably get them. The question is, do I replace all of them, like 75 of them, or do I just replace the ones that are broken? Well, thanks again for joining us. As I figure out more what to do with the feed roll, I'll try to get an update posted. In the meantime, I'll be working on other aspects of the machine, and this is Yates American B244 signing off.